Okay, so everybody, we just wait a few more minutes until everyone arrives. We've just got a few more that we're waiting on. So my name's Diane Simmons. I'm the one in the orange jacket because I like colour. We will be having a Q&A at the end where we'll be encouraging you to come off mic and to actually question and talk to us about it. And we are recording the session so that we can actually present this to other people, just to provide another area of viewing. This session is all around MYOB Exo Business tool, not the payroll solution. We will be running the payroll solution end of year stuff in April. So if you're not using MYOB Exo Business solution, then you may not find this session particularly useful. But you're more than welcome to stay because we always like a good question or two. So presenting today with me will be Tonya Sey, and I will do a formal introduction once we have a few more people attending. So we'll probably start in about 1 minute. So now's a good time to get a glass of water or anything if you need to. Okay, I think we'll make a start because we are 3 minutes over the starting time, and I think most people will be here. So welcome to our first water cooler for clients for 2023. This is really a session where you get a chance to see some of the insights in the software that we're actually using and how we're actually using it with other clients. It also provides a platform where you can chat to us about the things that are useful in your business, or things that you've got a few issues with that you might want us to air in a general platform for everyone to talk about. So my name's Diane Simmons. I'm the Managing Director of Acacia. I am certified in both MYOB Exo, MYOB Exo Payroll, MYOB Advanced Payroll, and MYOB Advanced Workforce Management. I'd also like to introduce Tonya Sey. Tonya Sey is one of the most wonderful people in Acacia who deals in our payroll solutions, both advanced and EXO, and also deals in our MYOB Exo. She's one of our most senior consultants, having had experience for, I don't want to age you, but can I say more than 15 years?
You can. I will age myself. It was actually more than 20 years that I worked out last night.
Yes, yeah, but I didn't actually want to say that out loud. So we've got people on hand that are very experienced and that can come back to you and advise you on anything that we're talking about today. So I am here for the introduction and the monitoring of the chat session, and Tonya will be doing the presentation. So over to you, Tonya.
Thank you. So yes, for those who don't know me yet, my name is Tonya Sey, and I have been working with MYOB Exo Business for a very long time. What I want to go through today is just some of the new features of the latest MYOB Exo Business release. As Di said, for the payroll people out there, we will be talking payroll in our April session, and we'll be talking about the latest payroll release as well in that session. So we're just going to stick with Exo Business for today. And if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat if you've got anything as we're going along, or we can save it till the end. So we'll jump straight into it. So the version that we're talking about is actually still a 2022 version. It's 2022.3. It was released late last year. And we're talking about if I can click on the right screen, talking about some of the key features there. So the 5 things I want to talk about today is the ability to specify CC and BCC email addresses when emailing data invoices. So I have had this requested from a few people. So it can automatically CC the emails, introduction of search templates to job costing and CRM. I'm going to show you the search template functionality within Exo Business. It has been around for a couple of versions, but I don't think it's very heavily utilised. So I wanted to show you that functionality. It's just been extended to some of the other modules. Also want to talk about the update to the TPAR submission. So this will only apply to a number of clients in specific industries, but the 2022.3 release meets the updated ATO requirements on that submission. There's also in this release the ability to customize the right click, which I'm very excited about personally. Get this asked a lot by a lot of people, is when you're in certain screens, can you customize what people have as the option in the right mouse click? And we can. It's new, so it's only introduced in a couple of screens at the moment, and hopefully we'll see more of that in the future. And just some enhancements to the business alert. So there's very specific, the enhancements. Business alerts have been around for quite a while, But again, I just want to show some of that functionality just in case people aren't fully aware what the business alert feature can actually do. So I'm going to move slightly quick just to make sure we've got time for the Q&A. So we'll jump in. And given it's our water cooler, we want it to be fairly interactive. So I'm actually going to jump into Exo Business. And specifically, we're talking here around the CC and the BCC. So I'm going to jump into our debtor screen. So I'll just pick Aussie Spares as my customer. So I'll maximise my screen here. Just hopefully it's clear enough for everyone to see. On the details.
It's good.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So on the Details 2 tab, we actually now have these invoice email CC and BCC email addresses. So as most of you will be aware, when you are emailing invoices, it'll either utilise this main Details 1 email address, or if you've got contacts turned on your transactions, it'll use the contact email address. And as I said, now we can CC and BCC. So in here, we can actually type in an email address. So I can just start typing Tonya at Google, which isn't valid, so don't bother trying it, but just as an example. Or we can actually call in contacts that we've got established on our customer as well. So we can actually say, as we've got a few in here, I might call in Alan Ballot, for example. So Alan, yep, this is the contact. So I don't actually have to type the email address because we've already got the contact set up. Okay, and of course I've got the BCC. So you can see there we can actually have multiple additional contacts to receive a copy of that email. The other thing that we can actually do is we can have what's called a dynamic email. So I can actually use the @ symbol and then have it send a copy of this invoice to the salesperson related to that invoice, to the primary contact for this customer, job manager, job contact, etc. This list is predefined. Again, as this feature gets more developed, hopefully we'll see additional contacts in there. So this actually means that I don't have to list a specific person. It'll automatically pull that person from the transaction itself. So that's that particular feature. Something to point out, it works with both the individual emailing of an invoice. So as you're transacting, create a sales order, convert to invoice email, it'll pull through this information. And it will also work with the mail shot feature as well. The only thing that it won't do is the dynamic emails. They won't pull through for the mail shot functionality when you're doing a batch run of emailing of invoices. And that is because each invoice could have a different salesperson or contact. So it doesn't work quite so well with mail shot. Oh, invalid email address, yes. So that's our first key feature, which, as I said, I know a few people have actually asked us about. And I'll jump back onto the next area. So the next one that I want to talk about is search template functionality. So, here. The search template, we'll jump back into our Exo Business. As I said, they've actually been around for a little while, and I'm just jumping into a sales order. And I'll create a new one. I'll go with Aussie again. Aussie Spares. Oh, they've got an account balance overdue. So within our different areas of the screen, and I'm going to add in a stock code. I'm just going to put a question mark, the I don't know what I'm adding option. And within our search screen, we actually have this option for search templates. So these are some of the predefined ones that come automatically with Exo, but these can be tailored. These are SQL queries, and we can tailor them and add to them and add to this list of how do we narrow down the items that we would want to be trying to sell to this customer. So as you can see here, I can set the items we want to sell down, only items we've got available, the last 100 items we've sold to this customer. And I don't know if, there we go, changes it a little bit, perhaps. Oh, I've got nothing marked for sell down. So if I just open up in Exo Config, and this is catching me on the fly, I didn't have this one prepared, ready to go. Oh. Right. So I'll just maximize that. Within our administration area, we have our, where can I find it? Our search templates. It might be right up the top. There it is, right up the top where it's already clicked. So the search templates that we can set up are searching for stock, searching for company, and that's more in that CRM where it could be customer or supplier, or searching for general ledger accounts. And what we can do is, so when we're searching for stock, we might be in an invoice, we might be in a purchase order, we could be in a job. So within each template, we can actually specify where is this template available and who is it actually available to. You can really quite tailor how these search templates are applied within the system. And if anyone's really keen on the technical side, that's an example of the code that can be put in that can generate these templates and narrow down. So the one that I've picked in, okay, available stock. If I cancel out, for example, a common question is, can I just see the stuff that I normally sell to this customer? Here's a search template. So you would select this when you're transacting and it would only show you the stock that you traditionally sell to this customer. Okay.
So another option might be, show me a list of all the stock items that I've sold to this customer in the past 12 months.
Correct, yes. Yep. Narrow it down by date. Yep. Or yes, as this one says, sell down items, you could have certain items that are, going out of style or expiry date driven so that you know which ones you need to prioritize a sale on. Okay, so that's within my example here. If I'll minimize this. So I'm back on Exo, I'm back on my sales order, doing a stock search. Previous invoices to this customer, I've only sold this one in recent invoices. Okay. So I'll save and exit. Why not? Put on my freight and save. Nope. Oh, lots of prompts. Okay. Jump along. So that was our search templates. The next one is TPAR. So TPAR stands for Taxable Payments Annual Report. It is an Australian Taxation Office requirement. So it applies to certain industries. So I'm not a tax agent, I'm not going to give tax advice and say, oopsie, say anything too much about them.
Except to say, it actually applies to Acacia because we're an industry. We're in an industry that is associated with information systems. We actually have to report to the ATO any subcontractors that we use. So this is mostly associated with certain industries that are using subcontractors. Cleaners are another good example. Cleaners actually have to report all of their subcontractors. So if you're not in these industries that actually have to report the TPAR, you're pretty safe. But just there has been a change, and so we're just reporting that as a change.
That's correct, yeah. So I've got this link here that actually talks about what are the industries that are impacted. So yeah, construction, cleaning, IT, security. They're sort of the key ones that come to mind that I know of clients of ours that are impacted. But yeah, there's more discussion with the accountant. ATO changed their requirements a little while ago in how that information needs to be reported. So what the TPAR reporting can do within Exo, it can just provide you a report and you can log on to your ATO business portal and key it in manually. I know we have someone online who had to do that last year and it was not fun. No. Had a lot of work to do, but you can also lodge electronically. So you can set up Exo with a small business reporting, SBR. Is that the right phrasing there, Di?
That's the right phrasing.
Yep. So small business reporting number, and you register with the ATO like you will all have had to have done with your payroll. You register the software ID with the ATO, and then Exo Business can electronically send the TPAR report to the ATO with the information that's contained, and it just now meets those requirements. The other thing that you'll see on the screen there's a new I declare option that again the ATO require a declaration to go with that submission now.
And that would probably take I would imagine that would take your Exo user login details to say that it's you personally who's submitting it, just as we have to do with the STP payroll stuff.
Correct, yeah, absolutely. So I know most of our users do log into Exo with their own name. There are a few that will use a generic login, and that might be something to think about if you're going to use the TPAR submission. But I think for all of our clients affected, they're all logging in with their own names. Okay. So customize the right click. So as I said, I was a bit excited about this. What it actually does now, it's limited to the transaction tab on customers and suppliers at this point in time. As you can see from the screenshot, I'm still within debtor account details, still within Aussie Spares, but I've got two different menu options for when I've right-clicked on that top invoice, depending on the user that's logged in. So I will jump into the configurator module again, just to start with here. One second. Okay, so we do have right-click options for job costing. I do apologise. I was just thinking Exo Business. So you can see there, this is a user profile level. So for those of you who don't know, users who log into Exo are assigned a profile which controls their security and permissions within the application and within the different modules. So at a user level, we can say when this user right mouse clicks on the creditor transactions, what can they see? So the options are quite a few, which is our standard default get everything. Now, of course, for those of you who will know this, the options change depending on the transaction you click on. If you click on a payment, you're not going to be able to right click and duplicate invoice. So it does automatically already change depending on the transaction type, but we can just control what's available. And so if I click on my, sorry, Di, go on.
I was going to say, so in what circumstances have the client said to you that they want to change the options? What's a common reason why?
Also interesting, we have always been able to prevent users from editing an invoice, but it's always still been on the right click option. They just haven't been able to utilize it. And they'll say, can we just get rid of it? It's just to get people to ask questions. Or yes, we can. Again, we've also been able to stop people from generating credits as a profile that's existed for a while. We can now take it off the menu. I can also take duplicate invoice off the menu now.
Yep.
So there's a few things. They're probably the main ones I've been asked about in the past.
Got it. That's good.
So I don't know if we...
Yep, you showed that. So the pull down list here changes depending upon.
That's exactly right. So it's specifically, as I said, the transaction tab for debtors and creditors. So that list will change. I'm logged in as the administrator at the moment. If I logged in as my CRM user, that's a smaller list. As we can see, we've also got options around job costing for the different tabs within job costing. And that's really where they've started with those options. So have a think. For those of you that are utilising those screens, obviously debtors and creditors will be most of you, but those on the job costing as well, and how you can, change those security permissions. Oh, close, close, close. Oh, lots of screens. Okay. And then business alerts. So as I said, business alerts have been actually around for a couple of versions. Some people use them quite heavily. Some people aren't using them at all. The way that business alerts are designed is to put up an alert on screen during a process. So you can see on the right-hand side here, it can trigger on saving a sales order, separate to when you supply a sales order, purchase orders, opportunities, invoices, jobs, inwards goods receipting. Again, inwards goods receipting was only, I think, the 2021 version. Those on older versions may not even have inwards goods receipting and costing in their options. And it can do a couple of different things. A business alert can just track information. It can say someone did this, and it can then record that into the table in our alerts table. It could fire an email off to someone to say, hi Diane, did you know Tonya did something that she wasn't supposed to do? Or it could actually pop up an option on screen where I need to confirm, you haven't done this, do you want to proceed, yes or no? Or it can go one step further and block me from going further. I can say, no, Tonya, you cannot save this supplier because you haven't entered the ABN details, as an example. Given not all suppliers have an ABN, that's probably not the best example. It's probably more on the saving and supplying of a sales order. Where conditions aren't met, we block them and don't let them proceed until they've filled in all the appropriate settings. So I'll just show you an example of that. Okay, so I've done one around the creditor side, just to make it a little bit simple. So I'll call it, I don't know, Bertha's Big Flowers, and hit save. Supplier ABN has not been entered on details tab. Do I want to continue? Now it is saying it twice because I have put it in there in a different way, and obviously I'd tidy up my option there. So I can continue, and that will save. So
you've got two business alerts, one to say the ABN's not entered and one to say that the bank details have been entered.
Thank you. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
So I can say, yes, I want to continue regardless, because in terms of the bank details, maybe our Bertha's Big Flowers are a cash payment when she comes in and tops up the office out of petty cash, or it's a cheque. My assumption here is that most of our suppliers are paid by direct credit, and I should put bank details in. And same with the ABN on details too. So those two alerts that I've set up there have been requested in the past, particularly around the bank details where there is a push to make sure that all suppliers are paid electronically. And the ABN one comes in handy if you're using the ABN check functionality, which not all clients do utilise, but what it does, if it is turned on, will compare the ABN entered on details 2 with the name of the company that's entered on details 1 with the ATO or the government registration with the ABN.
Yeah.
ABR, thank you. Yep. So that's why I've got these alerts on. So I've clicked confirm I want to continue without doing my job properly, and I have saved and I can exit and be on my happy little merry way. And my current alert, that's all it does. But I could actually then have a second alert fire that says, send off an email to my manager, says I haven't done it properly. Alternatively, there could be something that I can set it up, but it actually needs to go to the finance team to finish the setup and do those ABN checks and bank account checks. So it might be that an alert doesn't warn me perhaps, but does that capture, that silent capture, and sends that email off to the finance team to say, hey, new supplier created. And it can even actually have a link. So on that email that the finance team receive, it says, new supplier created, Bertha's Big Flowers, and you click on the hyperlink and it actually opens up to this screen where they can then go and finish filling in the correct information. So yeah, so business alerts, a lot more areas that it can work in now, and a little bit tidier on the way that it works when new accounts and new transactions are created. So conscious of the time, that was really my key things for today. So I'm running a little bit over. I do apologise. I will now hand over the floor for any questions or comments we may have received.
Now, I believe you actually have to enable yourself. So at the top of the screen, there'll be a camera and a mic function that you need to turn on to actually ask any questions. You don't have to turn your camera on because you might all be working from home, but you might need to just enable your microphone if you want to ask a question, and maybe put your hand up so that we can just make sure that, oh, looks as though there's a whole lot of chats coming through now. So it looks as though Naomi's got a question.
Hi, ladies. I've always got questions.
Yep. And we welcome it. We love it.
Terrific. Sending copy invoices to various debtors, let's say. We might get a request to send 6 invoices that they don't seem to have as a result of a statement being sent. The way we would normally do this is to go into the debtors card and locate the invoice, hit on the invoice and hit the email icon.
Yep.
How can we do that over multiple invoices?
You can utilise the batch print invoices function. So you can actually say, and I do not know what I have in my demo data, so I'll make it nice and broad. I'll do Aussie. So in here, I'm saying I want all invoices for customer Aussie spares from this date range. Now I can actually narrow this further and say where, and I just happen to know the code. You're more than welcome to always ask us. where it hasn't been allocated yet. So allocated is 0. These are all the invoices, and I want to send them all via email. So I hit the mail shot button, and it says, do I want to collate into one single email, or do I want to send 3 separate ones? I'll just collate. And we can see here, primary email is actually going for Terry for my invoices, and Carl's going to get them. So is Chris. Di's going to get them. I don't know who this is.
Looking forward to it.
And then I hit the go button, and it will send, in this instance, one email with, as you can see on the right, 3 invoices attached.
Okay. So if you could just go back one step where you use the SQL filter.
Yep.
The custom filter. Oh, you're just doing an allocate equals 0. Yeah. So it's going to pick up all the outstanding invoices.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So we could just list the invoices themselves and do it that way rather than separately PDFing 6 invoices to one.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if they're random invoices that it's not everything outstanding, yes, you can actually tick in here and type the individual invoice numbers. So
cool.
1015 and so on.
With commas separating.
With commas. Yep.
Yeah.
And we do actually have clients that utilize this screen on a daily, weekly basis. So I'll just jump out, and they'll come in at the end of the day and say, right, all invoices for today, load them, send them.
Yeah, we do use the batch platform for sending because we import batches, so that is super handy. But yeah, I've when you're in the actual platform identifying invoices to be sent, you don't always know the numbers off cuff. So yeah, that's fine. That's super handy, and my work colleagues also said the same. So that's perfect.
Excellent.
I also have another one. With the payment processor,
yes,
for batch payments and ABA setups,
yep,
is there the ability when you were going through your creditor's card, you have to put in your bank details. You either get check or EFT, direct credit. Is there an option, or can there be an option for BPay so that we can select customers that are BPay and run batch reports just for BPay?
Not by default, but yes, they can. So this payment list here is just part of our setup where we say in our admin settings, what are the payment types that we have? So BPay just gets added into this list. It gets configured to be, so if I just put in BPay, is it available for customers and or suppliers?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's in the list.
One thing to note from that, I've actually tried setting it up for to actually generate a BPay file to be uploaded to the Commonwealth Bank, because as far as I'm aware, the only bank that actually accepts BPay files is the Commonwealth Bank. Or that was my investigation about 3 years ago. And even though you would think it would be reasonably easy, the actual file format is quite difficult, and I wasn't able to reproduce it. Maybe some of the more technical people here can probably do it better than what I can. Maybe not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was one of my questions as well, that it would be super handy if you have a lot of BPays, that it could be ABA uploaded rather than everyone being manually put in, because you've got to pretty much open the source document and type all the details in every time. Correct.
But I mean, the other thing is we may be able to produce a report that just gives you a list of all the BPay included in that payment selection mode.
Yeah, so when you go to the creditors payment processor, then available to you would be the BPay selector rather than just check.
Correct.
No, Diane. No. No. Possibly, there's actually a flag on the payment to say that it goes through this particular module, but it's very specific. I can't add, so you can see here, direct credit check. I can't add a BPay onto this screen. I'd have to hijack.
Yeah, that was our real issue, because we might select a creditor's card to be BPay, but we can't run a report on all the BPays that are due to be paid by a certain date. We have to choose check, and then we get other things that pop up in check because there are other people that we don't have bank account details for whatever reason, or so we get a whole heap of other things other than just things that are outstanding for BPay.
Yeah. So look, yeah, there's a couple of different options around these groups and things. It might be that we take this onto another session. So, one of the things we want to do is actually get an idea from you guys. What are the things you would love for us to include in these water coolers and show you? So maybe there is a session on how we can better utilise these groups and lists around this screen and bring in things via BPay, because you're the second person today to ask me about BPay file upload.
Yeah.
And
but it is really specific to each of the banks. So we'd need to check out what bank you've got and whether they actually have a file format. Now, Tonya, Kylie was also asking, can you send a tax invoice to one email and a statement to a separate email?
Yes, definitely. So, if I can close the screen. So one of the things that we do have within our debtor setup, on the Details 2 tab, you can specify, my mouse button is dying on me, so I apologise. On the Details 2 setup, we have a statement delivery option and a statement contact. So this is linking to the contacts tab. Now you might, instead of having people's individual names, you might just have one called accounts payable from your customer side. And you would bring that in onto this screen and say, right, my statements are to go to this particular person. And so when you do the statement run, this will be the email address that's used.
And so this is a feature that's been added quite some time ago in Exo. So it just depends upon what version you're on in Exo as to whether you've got that. So you'd need to just check your Details 2 screen. Or Tonya, do you want to just show people where to check their version number?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll save that. Click on Help and then About. And so that's your Exo version number up the top there, the very first line. So
you can all go and check, and if there's features that you'd like to take advantage of, then we can go from there.
And there is also, for anyone, because I'm on the latest release, I'm not seeing it, but our older releases, if your system is able to connect to the internet, there'll be a little orange box on the right-hand side, orange or yellow, that says new version available.
Yeah, orange or yellow, and it will tell you that there's new things available. So I can't see anything else in the chat. Naomi, have you got your hand up?
Yes, just one other thing. Is there any chance in having the availability to save more than one payment run at a time? In your creditors payment processor, you can actually select items to be paid and then hit the save button, and it'll save that data with all your little yeses next to it.
Yes.
Is there any way, because we pay out of multiple banks, is there any way to save? Oh, sorry, take that back. Just forget I just said that. Is there any way to say, I want to pay this batch on one batch report, but I also want to save another batch?
No, nothing that I'm aware of. So, for example, saying I want to pay this lot Friday and I'll pay this lot next Friday and just get it all done and prepared, ready to go. No, it would be a case of, if that was my scenario, doing it, changing my payment date, saving, creating the file, doing another run. There's not a way currently to save multiple runs with that status of waiting to hit the process button.
But the other alternative is you could actually create the file and upload it to the bank and make sure that the payment date is a future date, and then your bank will release it at the appropriate time.
And that is what we do at the moment, Di, but we have the issues then. We've got to uncheck all those items because we don't release them out of MYOB until it's gone through the bank, because we get 2 bank approvers from our managers, and we wait for those bank approvers to say we've approved them and they've gone before we update our MYOB. Otherwise, we may have to adjust something.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. So anything like that where that's a really good idea, we can actually take that then to the MYOB partner community. And put that onto the ideas portal and bring it to MYOB's attention. So, that's something that I'll do later today and put it on the portal. It's not something that end users yourselves would have access to. It's just a partner thing.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll put that idea on.
Yeah, it'd be super helpful because we have to uncheck all the yeses, check new yeses, then go back once the payment's been done and redo the work.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Actually, that's right. I'll have a couple of things. I think that something around the payment processor is a bit of a tips and tricks idea. There's a couple of things that have come to mind that might work on another water cooler session. Given the time, and I'm conscious that we did say for people it's just a half hour, I might jump back to my slides, Di.
Yep, I think that's a wise move.
Sort of, if my mouse works on me. Yep. Okay. So, thank you everyone for joining our very first client water cooler session for 2023. I hope that you've got some useful information out of there. It's given you some ideas. As it says on our slide, we're doing another water cooler session in April, and we're going to, I will talk payroll in that version. I don't think that's going to take a full half hour. We might bring up some other EXO ideas. We will notify you, as we have done on this one, what the topics are. But if there are some things you would like us to have a bit of a chat about, please send through your topic ideas. I didn't clearly think whose email address we should be sending that to, Di.
That's all right.
So send it through to whoever your key contact.
Yeah, we'll probably get you to send that through to help desk, and we'll just get Ben. Ben will actually compile all those things for us so that we can include them next time.
So I will. Well, after this, I believe we're going to send out just a little follow-up, just to get your thoughts on how today went. We will include the help desk email address on there if you don't already have it. Hopefully you do when you're contacting us on any support questions. But thank you again for joining us, and we will speak to you all soon.
Thanks for coming, everybody.